What is a FistulaGram? In our prior episodes, we discussed what happens when you get diagnosed with stage 4, stage 5 chronic kidney disease entering ESRD, end stage renal disease. And in most cases, you're either going to have to go the kidney transplant route or choose one of the dialysis modalities in order to keep your blood cleaned and living. When we begin hemodialysis in center, we usually have a catheter placed in our chest with the arterial red line, venous blue line. And this is the axis of how we connect to our dialysis machine, and our blood gets pumped out of our body into the cycler, into this whole process known as hemodialysis, and then placed back into our system through the venous blue line. The next phase would be a surgery to get what is known as a fistula. And we discussed that last week when we talked about this whole process. A fistula is an artery in a vein of the person's body, its own, our own making, and it's connected together in order to make this big vein to access through needles. So then you can connect to the machine, because having the catheter in your chest is not an ideal thing. However, the goal is to have either a fistula or a graft, because then there is no open access to your body, and then treatments are a little bit more safer. Having a fistula, in my opinion, is ideal because, again, you can go swimming and it's closed off for the most part until it's time to do our dialysis treatments again. All people on dialysis will be using one of these little handy tools, a stethoscope. I think I said that right. So, because, for example, my fistula is placed right here in my upper arm. I've had this for more than 16 years, and I thank God I never had a problem, never had an issue with it, because I take care of myself. I make sure to move my body, exercise as much as I can, and always make sure to check the health of my fistula. So that's one thing that we do. See if y'all can hear that. Let me see if y'all can hear that through the mic. But the point of this is you're gonna hear what is known as a thrill. As soon as I had my fistula surgery, I woke up and I could feel this little motor in my arm. And that's blood. It sounds like a rush of just river water running and pumping through your body. Picture a jugular vein times 10. That's what a fistula is. It's just blood flowing strong. And keeping blood flowing within the body by moving it is how you keep it healthy. Heparin is also used in many cases. Dialysis patients aren't really moving as much, so their blood becomes a little bit stagnant. Their bodies become stagnant. So it's vital and very important that we get up and walk as much as we can, or even just do chair exercises. Something to promote that sangre que se mueve, for it to move. Because of dialysis and the nature of what in-center hemodialysis does to the person undergoing it, because it's not easy. It's very draining, it's very exhausting. The body takes a hit every time you get connected to that machine and you sit there for 3-4+ hours. Yes, the blood is getting cleaned and it's keeping us alive, and thank God we are grateful and blessed for that, because just a few years ago, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, 100 years ago, people didn't have that. So we're grateful for that, but it still does take a toll on the body and how we feel in general. And because of that, people on dialysis will have issues with their fistula or issues with their graft. And everybody's situation is so unique and specific to them. However, when this happens and we're having an issue with our fistula, whether you're hearing a whistle sound or your blood is getting clotted a little bit too often, certain things can happen that could prevent you from doing your dialysis treatments, and that's not a great thing. So you have surgeons and you'll have different professionals take you through the process and procedure of what is known as a FistulaGram. This is an outpatient procedure. They do it very quickly, and if we're having issues with our fistula through this process and this procedure, what they'll do is lay you on a table, have your arms stretched out with these cameras in an operating room, and you have to be turned away because everything has to be very sterile, very clean. Make a small incision, very tiny, to put a small tube with a camera and just to see what's going on inside of your fistula. In some cases, a patient's fistula might have narrowed, that being the reason why it's making that whistle sound. So what they'll have to do is, with the camera, they'll see where the blockage is, and then with the balloon, blow that part up. Or go in there and declot it. Whenever they put that camera in your fistula or your graft, they're able to see what's going on and what needs to be repaired. In many cases, the fistula is good, and what they'll do is just take the tube out and you're good to go. After that, you go home. In this procedure, you do not get put to sleep. In some unique cases, you might. I remember there was a few times that I did, but it's such a fast procedure, and I've heard mixed stories. I've had it happen to me. I've went through many FistulaGrams, but thank God they never found anything wrong with my access. There was never no clots or no narrowing. Everything was clear for the most part. So if that was to happen, then we would have to look at the dialysis machine, depending on what your situation is. If you're not getting good clearance, or if your machine is constantly alarming. I remember that was an issue that I had, and because of that, they thought something was wrong with my fistula. So we checked that out, and come to find out, it was really the machine that was malfunctioning. Be aware of your body and how you feel, how your treatments are going. Notice if one treatment you don't feel as drained as the other, because all of this, these are indicators and ways of really improving our lifestyle and our environment. Because if we feel better after our treatments, that should tell us something. I've noticed in my case that when I eat a certain diet and I eat a certain way, more lighter, healthier, higher frequency foods, that after my dialysis treatments, I don't feel so drained and so worn out compared to if I ate something more processed or sugary. All of this is just being aware of ourselves and taking responsibility and accountability for our health, our treatments, and our lives. And with that, we do become better each and every day.